Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Today we're going to talk about shame as a faulty core belief. And this is one of the most powerful faulty core beliefs. The definition of shame is that it is a faulty core belief that we are somehow inherently defective. When you feel that you are somehow a mistake, or that you are unlovable, or that you are a bad person, that is when you are experiencing shame. Now, the thing with shame is that we are so good at defending ourselves from shame. And over the years, working with so many men, I have seen all the defense mechanisms against shame, but I'm going to share the most common ones. And brother, as you're listening to this, I'd like you to pay attention and just identify the ones that you experience. So the first is withdrawal. This is very common when men say things like, I'm an introvert. Like that's the reason I'm not out there sharing things with people. But really, that is our way of protecting ourselves from being hurt because we feel unlovable. Another defense mechanism is attacking ourselves. And this is by making very self-depreciating comments. I often see this in a lot of my funny acquaintances or the comedians. But the putting down yourself mechanism is based on this belief that you better attack yourself first about the things you are insecure about so that others won't. So you'll attack yourself for your looks, you'll attack yourself for your financial situation, you'll attack yourself for anything. But all of that is simply to protect yourself from being hurt, and it comes from shame. Another defense mechanism is perfectionism or grandiosity, where you just act or speak as if you are so great. And some of you may know people like that, where there is an obsessiveness in getting things done, and there is sometimes very strong emotions when those things are not done right, followed by an assertion that you are perfect because you are so great, that this is what it takes to be successful or to be perfect. And you're looking at the person or yourself going like, but am I really that great? Like, what have I truly accomplished in my life? Another defense mechanism is attacking others. And this is where you are judgmental towards other people, where you act holier than thou. But it is still your way of protecting yourself from shame by proactively attacking other people in order to feel better about yourself and minimize the deep shame that you feel. This is most commonly seen in two places. The first is when people don't have something that they can use in public to attack others, they will do it in private. And by private, I mean in private conversations and hiding behind the anonymity of the internet. So you'll see a lot of people trolling or attacking or being judgmental in the comment sections. But all of that is based on hiding shame. I'll give you some examples of the anonymity. When you see people, somebody, let's say, shares their physique online, a very common thing on social media, you will find people saying something negative, both men and women. So for instance, if a woman shares her weight loss experience and it goes viral, you will see some people congratulate her But you would also see a lot of women say that that is an unhealthy weight for a woman of 30 whatever, 30 years old or 35 years old to have. Or some of us are not able to afford to have to have the time to go to the gym. We have many kids. And this narrative that being skinny or fit, this is a very unhealthy narrative that is pushed by men and whatever industry on women. Then when you see it in men, on the other hand, you'll see a man who is maybe in his 40s or 50s or even 60s sharing that, this is the physical transformation I've had. I'm jacked, I'm muscular. And then you would see men show up and say, yeah, but he didn't mention the TRT. He didn't mention the steroids he's taking. He didn't mention all of these things. And you would ask yourself, well, why is it that as human beings, we cannot celebrate these things and go like, good for you? Well, the reason why is many people experience shame. They feel because they have been either struggling with their weight or their looks or their ability to keep their mouth shut and not put so much food in it, that they experience shame. That they feel like something is broken. I've tried for so long to transform my body, but I've been unable to maintain it. So maybe something is wrong with me. And so we attack others. You can also see this in a lot of individuals who are religious in nature, very quick to judge others. And this is the one that is done more publicly because now they don't need the anonymity of the internet to share and project that. They can hide behind the armor of religion, which protects them. So it is easier to hide your shame by claiming to be holier than thou, because the good book says that this person is wrong. So I urge all of you to check yourselves. We are all, myself included, very capable of doing this. Even I remember in my early days as I was going through my reboots, I did have shame, even in the late stage of my reboots. And I was judgmental, and I did have episodes of grandiosity, and I certainly withdrew, and I definitely attacked myself, and I was incredibly good at being self-depreciating. So we want to check ourselves and make sure that we're not hiding behind these defense mechanisms. With that being said, let's talk about how we can deal with this faulty core belief. The first is to identify your shame and name it. You must bring it into the light, as Brené Brown says. When we think that we are defective or we are broken or we are a bad person, put pen to paper. I mean it. If you're feeling a lot of shame, maybe you've just gone through a relapse, write down, I am not defective. I am not broken. I am not bad. I am simply experiencing shame. Again, there is nothing wrong with experiencing shame. Shame is not necessarily a bad thing. Shame originally existed as a means of showing us. It was like a red alert. It was a signal that what you were doing was not good for the collective, that it was something that could hurt other people. You walk around naked on the streets. Yeah, there's a problem with that in civilized society. So you have shame that has you wear clothes. If you have a foul body odor and you're around other people and it is pointed out to you, you experience shame. Why? Because it is a signal that something is not working with civilized society. Again, the origin of that was to protect you from, like, if you try to hurt somebody, something was said to you and you experience shame, like, oh, that's a wrong thing to do. I'm not supposed to hurt other people. Unfortunately, shame is weaponized by others against us. So your family using shame to be like, well, why aren't you married? You need to get married. And it's for their own selfish desire. So they shame you. Oh, old man like you at your age, you're not married yet, or you don't have kids yet, or you haven't bought a house yet, or you're not taking care of me. Your poor mother, your poor father, you're not gonna send us money, you can't support us. All of these are being weaponized. But we also weaponize shame against ourselves by telling ourselves the stories that society and our family conditioned us to say, that I am unlovable because I view this type of pornography that I'm not supposed to view, that I am broken because I watch gay or transgender pornography, or I have sexual desires towards other individuals that, my friends or family don't understand. So shame is a universal emotion and everybody experiences it. That is why you must state definitively that I am not defective, I am not broken, I'm not a bad person. I am simply experiencing shame. Secondly, you must share it. Shame thrives in secrecy, so share it. Share it with your coach. Share it with a therapist. Share it with a counselor. Because as you share it, it begins to dissipate. I'll say it again. You must share it. I see so many men at the last minute before they jump on a call with us, which is free, by the way, it's complimentary. That shame kicks in so bad, and the defense mechanism comes up. So you withdraw. You're like, nah, I'm not ready to talk about this. Or you attack yourself. Like, they're probably going to call me out on some shit, and I'm a loser already. So, like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm a loser. There's no point in me getting on this call. Or you have some perfectionism. Well, I want to ask you guys, is this program available is there a coaching session at 7 p.m. Central on Thursdays? Because if there isn't, there's no way that I'm going to be able to engage in this program. That is one of the few days that I am free. Is this program based on biblical principles? Because if it is not based on biblical principles, then I, as a Christian, cannot participate in it. Perfectionism, attacking others. I don't really like the fact that the founder of this program cusses. I don't like the fact that there is a female in this program, Dr. Jessica Eastman, and I don't think she's qualified to speak to men. How can a woman speak to men on men's issues? They say that this program is filled with high performers. Who do they think they are to work with only high performers? None of these things are relevant. Why? Because the program at the end of the day has one purpose: to help you end your out of control behavior with pornography. So what does it matter as long as we accomplish that goal? The only thing that matters is you protecting yourself from shame. And that is why you must share it so that it can dissipate. The third is get specific on your shame messages. What I'd like you to do is list out your faulty core beliefs. And we've done this exercise. We've talked about faulty core beliefs on other episodes. Your faulty core belief could be that you are different, and programs like this don't apply to you. Your faulty core belief could be that everybody's out to get you and you're going to get scammed, you're going to get taken advantage of. Your faulty core belief could be that you never follow through with anything. Your faulty core belief could be that if it's not one-on-one, you can't do it. Anything, everything you do must be one-on-one. Like the only way that I can learn something is one-on-one. But I want you to list out all your faulty core beliefs and ask yourself, how many of my faulty core beliefs are shame-based? And let me give you a tip. Any statements in your faulty core belief which end in enough are probably shame statements. So when you say, I am not committed enough to go through a program like this, I don't think I am addicted enough. I hear JK talk about people who watch gay porn or transgender porn or who act out with prostitutes. And even though I have never been able to stop watching pornography for 12, 13 years, that's not my problem. So I am not addicted enough. That is a shame-based message. It is you protecting yourself from seeking help. But remember, all of this is happening unconsciously. So if you were just like, nah, JK, that's not the case. I know it is unconscious, brother. This does not happen consciously. This is why it is called a faulty core belief. It is deep within your core. It started in your childhood. It leads to many assumptions. And throughout your entire life, every day at multiple times, you always found proof to make it stronger. So now it operates in the background like an operating system. So it takes specialized help to change that. But when you change it, you begin to live an extraordinary life because you are no longer dealing with things on the surface. You have learned the art of bringing those things to the surface and handling them. So again, statements which end in enough are likely shame-based statements. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not committed enough. And so on. The irony of statements like, I am not committed enough, is that because it's a faulty core belief where you are constantly finding proof that you're not committed enough, then you're actually not going to be committed enough. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, which means when you do something and you quit that thing for any reason, it could be that thing did not work out or your schedule actually could not fit it in. The story you will tell yourself is not, well, I couldn't afford it or I couldn't, my schedule couldn't handle it. The story you will tell yourself is, I just wasn't committed enough. That's the truth, man. That's the truth, bro. If I was committed enough, I would have found a way. People who are committed find a way, and I'm not committed enough. And that's the irony. Everything goes back to your faulty core belief. And then you identify where they actually come from. So when you identify, let's say, for instance, that a faulty core belief of, let's say, I am not good enough comes from a place of your parents being extra hard on you or comparison while you were growing up. Your parents or a teacher or somebody told you that you were not as smart as other people, or you were betrayed by a spouse or a girlfriend. Somebody left you for somebody else. And you looked and you said, oh, well, I wasn't good enough to attract that woman. That's why I was rejected. That's why she cheated on me. And so it becomes a faulty core belief. And every time you're rejected by a woman says, no, I'm not going to give you my number. I'm not comfortable with that. Immediately you went back to that faulty core belief and said, well, obviously I'm not good enough. Maybe your dad or your mom left and maybe they divorced, but you were young and you didn't understand what was going on. But at the end of the day, you came up with your own explanation, which is mom or dad left and went off with somebody else because I'm not good enough. There's so many ways this could happen. Identify it in your life. And then I want you to flip it around from I am not good enough to I am enough. And I want you to do this for all your shame-based statements that end in enough. Listen, brother, the amazing thing is that everything I'm sharing with you, if you were just to do these things, if you could be the man, unlike others, who would pull out a pen and paper and just do this exercise now, your life would change. It doesn't matter if you forgot after you did the exercise. And yes, tomorrow you forget that, oh, I did this exercise. None of that actually matters. What matters is that you put in the rep. Something happens in your unconscious mind when you do a powerful exercise like this. Scattered all around me are pieces of paper as I do exercises and I constantly work on myself. It's become a habit, but it allows me to accomplish things that I would never have thought I was capable of doing. If I have, let's say, a fear of speaking to a large group of people, let's say last year, a doctor friend of mine invited me to do a presentation for a group of doctors. And that presentation I called it The Distracted Doctor. And this guy was a friend of mine. We'd met several times across the world as he built his business. We were in the same kind of conference. And I was experiencing a lot of doubt. I was like, well, he's inviting me to speak in front of these doctors, these professionals, these individuals who went to school for so many years. And what are they going to think about me? Are they going to think like, whoa, like, what's this? An addiction recovery coach, a reboot coach? Like, come on, Josh. That was his name, the name of the doctor, Dr. Josh. Come on, Josh. Like, you, you're going to let this guy speak to us? So all these things came up. And as the date of the presentation came closer, I found myself almost ready to sabotage the whole thing. I was going to shut it down. And I was now thinking, I moved from having anticipation for it, that means a positive expectation of something that was going to happen in the future, to having a ton of anxiety about it, a concern, negative concern of something that might happen in the future. And I realized immediately that several faulty core beliefs were at play. So what did I do? All I did was sit down and once, pen to paper, I worked through all the faulty core beliefs, doing exactly what I've taught you on this episode today. And every morning for the remaining 4 days leading up to that presentation, I just read it. And when the time for the presentation came, I absolutely crushed it. It was amazing. It went on longer than I thought it would because all the doctors opened up and they asked so many questions. And I was shocked at how basic their questions about their struggles with addiction were and bad habits. It was a wonderful experience that would not have happened if I did not work through that belief. So I hope you find this helpful. And gentlemen, if you find this episode helpful, please go ahead and share it with somebody who might benefit from it. Please give us a like, give us 5 stars, give us a review, because there's not a lot of advertising that's done for the podcast. I just show up and I share freely. So we would love it if more men could hear about the podcast. On the next episode, we'll be talking yet again about faulty core beliefs, but this time I'll be addressing that demon in many of our lives, procrastination. I'll see you then. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is, if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.